Dice, hey, check, check, 1, 2. Hey, check, check, 1, 2. Hey, check, check, 1, 2.
Boom. That is Calm Justice with the official theme song for Angels Combat World. Much thanks to him for allowing us to use his material. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Infinity Should Fight. Visit infinityshould5.com/customize to use the customizer tool, and you build up pretty much your equipment. You can grab gloves, shorts, groin guards, head guards, and customize them however which way you want. Go to infinityshould5.com/customize, and when you're done customizing all your awesome equipment, use my code word $5 Angels fans to get $5 off your order. Just visit infinityshould5.com/customize and use my code word $5 Angels fans at checkout. Also, we're brought to you by our friends at Just Heart Apparel, jhaec.com. When you take a look at all their incredible designs on their apparel, hoodies or t-shirts and all that good stuff, you're not going to be able to just get one. You're going to have to get a couple of them, maybe 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, 50. When you get however many you need, you go to checkout and use my code word ANGEL and you get 10% off. Just visit jhaec.com. When you're done picking all that great apparel at checkout, 10% off using my code word ANGEL. We are also brought to you by our friend Yared Vasquez's invention, the Cryo Shield. When you watch a fight and the fighters go to the corners after the round, you see that everybody gets some type of bag with ice on their neck or on their back or on the top of their head or whatever. That is what we're trying to avoid. If you need to take care of your fighter properly, which you do, you need to take care of your fighter properly, you need the Cryo Shield. Pretty much the Cryo Shield is made out of a material that gets cold really easily. It gets really cold. I don't know how to pronounce the name of this material, but I'm pretty sure Dr. Vasquez does. And what you do is you put ice bags on each of the pockets. It's placed in precise areas where you need the cold, and pretty much this hoodie becomes a cryo chamber, and you don't need the ice bag anymore. So do things right. Go to facebook.com/cryoshield and take a look at our product and buy however many you need. My guest on this episode is none other than the Kraken, Juan Adams. He is a UFC heavyweight who's just coming off a loss, but he's had impressive victories, and he's looking for a matchup against Greg Hardy so he can bash his head in. This is the one, the only, the Kraken, Juan Adams.
Diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, woo, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun.
Angels Combat World. Boom. The Kraken, Juan Adams, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Just resting up, chilling in the new spot. Tired from moving.
Yeah? How long was this move? How long did it take?
Well, it only took me a few trips, but I'm still just adjusting to the new spot and everything. My roommate, it's taking him a little longer. He had a lot more stuff to move.
Right.
I moved the bed and said, fuck everything else.
Did you stay in Houston?
Yeah, still in Houston.
All right, cool. Looking at you and looking at your recent fights, I think the people that say that we don't need a super heavyweight division in MMA are ridiculous. Because you walk around at 300 pounds, right? 290, 295?
Yeah, 290. This time we're trying to stop less than 290. Last time I got up to like 295.
Jeez. How do you feel during that cut?
I mean, it's not that bad. The first few times it sucked, but now it's down to a science. Last cut went really, really well because I stopped at 295, and so it was a lot smoother. This cut should be even smoother than that. And Trifecta handled the last week of nutrition while I was up there. Hopefully, we can get them on for the full fight camp this time. But I mean, it's great. I had no complaints about it. It just sucks that I can't do a lot of stuff that I want to do, but a lot of that stuff isn't good for performance anyway. So
Right. It's cool to have a service like Trifecta, right? I've heard other fighters talk about it, that you can just get your mind off of that. You just let them have it.
it's great. I mean, I love it. Super stress free. Makes it, and their food isn't bad either. It's pretty good. So, normally you're cutting weight, the food sucks, but not.
True. All right, man. So how did this all start? Where are you from, and what was your first exposure to martial arts or fighting in general?
When I was in like 7th grade, I went to like a boxing camp for a couple weeks, and we didn't really even do boxing. It was basically daycare. So that, but I got to watch other guys box, and then I started wrestling in high school, my freshman year, and that carried me all the way through college. And when I would come down on breaks, I would work with some of the fighters on their wrestling for extra money. I would coach privates, and I would do stuff like that. And then, once I graduated, I was working towards an NFL tryout for like 6 months, and I just didn't like football all that much. Didn't really want to try it anymore, and so I went over. I decided to, take a fight, use my wrestling a little bit, and I started training really hard for that, and everything kind of just worked itself out.
And you made it to the LFA, right? You were there for a bit.
Yeah. So I did all 4 of my amateur fights of Garcia Promotions, and then my pro debut was with LFA, and I did my first 3 pro fights with them. And then I had Contender Series, and after Contender Series, I've had 2 UFC fights now.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I remember I first watched you at the Contender Series. I was like, this dude is humongous. How is he making this cut? It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's tough, but pays off, I guess.
Right. It's not only like people see a big dude, but yeah, you're a huge dude, but like your striking is very crisp. Like the way you flow between strikes, and you mix it in with your wrestling, it's very crisp, and I can appreciate it. I really like it. I really like your style. I think I really want to watch more of Juan Adams in the UFC. What do you think? Where do you think your next fight is going to take place? Have you talked to them or what?
No, we haven't really talked at all. I always throw names out there. I've been asking to fight Greg Hardy forever. So.
Right.
I think that'd be funny, but.
Talk to me about that.
I just hate him.
We can all hate him for the same reason.
Just think he's a bad human. Even like the domestic abuse stuff aside, there's like stuff I've heard from him from different people that we both know. I just don't like him as a human being. I don't like his haircut. I don't like his I just don't like him. His face, I just want to punch him. I don't like. And it's weird because there's very few people that I just look at and I'm like, I hate you. He's one of them. It might not make a lot of sense to most people, but I just already don't like him. And then the fact that he makes more money than me and everything else, it just makes it even worse. And then people think he's better than me, so I'm like, all right, now I hate him even more. So
I don't know about that. I do resent the fact that as an MMA company, the UFC uses someone like him as a co-main in a card.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's good. He made like what, 150 grand, something like that in his last fight. And I don't think that's fair to the rest of the division. I understand he brings some baggage and he brings a lot of ice, not for the correct reasons. But how would you see? I think it makes sense, a fight between you two guys. How would you see that fight going? Honestly,
I would just torture him for 15 minutes, dude. Like, see how much damage he can take. I wouldn't even wrestle him. I would just hit him repeatedly. He has no gas. You know, he would gas out in the first round. You know, he drops off immensely. In his fight with Alan Crowder, you know, there was a huge drop off between round 1 and 2. For me, you know, in my last fight, first round, I think I landed 35 significant strikes. The next next round was 26 or it might have been 36, 25, 25. But my pace was pretty consistent. You know, I dropped off a little bit from round 1 to 2, but from 2 to 3, there was no change.
There was no change. True. I watched it again recently. Yeah, I don't know about Greg. Greg can crack for that first round, but I don't know what can happen after that.
Yeah,
because he's got some power for sure.
Yeah, he's got power. I mean, but everyone at this weight has a little bit of power. You know, the fact of the matter is he got taken down by Alan Crowder. You know,
relatively easily too.
He got taken down by an Olympian. He got taken down by a nobody. So.
I don't know about nobody, but he's not in the elite of the division for sure. But yeah, he got taken down by Alan Crowder relatively easily too. There wasn't a lot of struggle. Yeah. What would you do different in the last fight? Your last fight, your first professional loss.
You know, I'd probably stop it to try harder to stop a takedown. You know, my thought was, even if he takes me down, he can't hold me down. And the first time he took me down, I got out. The second time, I didn't. You know, so I stop one of those takedowns, I get at least a split decision. You know, obviously I crowded my punches a little bit that fight. You know, and I do a lot of stuff, like little stuff beforehand, so I wouldn't have had to do it the day of the fight. Like the day before the fight, they told me I needed to trim my beard; it was too long. So So the day of weigh-ins, I had to go get my beard trimmed, and then I get to the fight, and you know the little supplements that the UFC gives you. They came back there, and the commission looked at it and goes, "Oh, you can't have this," and they just threw my shit away. And then they told me that I needed to clip my toenails, which, like the day before, they didn't say anything about, and so we're clipping my toenails, and they didn't even give me a normal size clipper. They gave me a fingernail clipper for it. I was like, "This isn't gonna work," and they're like, "I'll just chip away at it." And it gets to one toenail, and I'm like, this really isn't working. Can I pay somebody to go get a bigger one? They're like, no, just keep chipping at it. So I got them. They went and grabbed me the scissors they used to cut tape. I'm cutting on my toe, and as I'm cutting the nail off, it just cracks down the middle, and my toe is bleeding. Half the nail came off. Yeah, that shit sucked. And that was a couple hours before my fight. So
what?
Yeah, they're just assholes up there. I didn't like them, you know.
Yeah. That doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Trimming your beard, maybe, but I don't know. And the toenails, I understand, but that's something you got to do way before. You can't do that on fight day.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I had trimmed them, and they said it was fine. And then, you know, we get backstage, and as I'm warming up, they're like, "Oh no, you need to cut those more." So.
Anyways, that doesn't make a lot of sense. That seems like an indie promotion kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Man. Anyways, what besides you weren't trying football and then you found out that you really don't like it. Which, by the way, which position were you playing?
They had me trying out to be a 3-4 defensive end, and I was 320, 325.
Jeez.
I was really strong, but I didn't have cardio for anything. You know?
Right. Yeah, banging into each other for a whole game doesn't make a lot of sense to me either.
Yeah.
Much rather get paid to fight.
Yeah, exactly. Actually hit them in the face.
Right.
Yeah.
So your background was wrestling, correct?
Yep.
And you had a little bit of boxing too.
Um, what made you fall in love with the game, with UFC, with the MMA?
And I just like doing it. There's so many. For me, it was just a good outlet. I had a lot of frustration at the time. My mom had just passed away. I was fat as hell. So I was like, I need to do something different. And I was already coaching, so I'm like, oh, let's just try it. I'll step in the cage a couple times, and I just kept doing it, and I had a pretty quick turnaround rate. And then once I was getting paid for it, I was like, oh, they pay you to put butts in seats, So I was getting 20% of ticket sales. Like, oh yeah, I'm selling 100 tickets each time, so I'm like, why not? And I just kept going and going, and I started to enjoy it more and more. The better I got at it, the more you hit, unless you get hit, the more fun it is.
100%. And you talk about like bringing butts and putting butts in seats. Like your personality comes through the screen for sure. Every time we see you in an interview, backstage, and being interviewed by Megan or whoever it is, like your personality just explodes through the screen. Is that, I don't want to say that's a character, but is that Juan turned up to like 15?
Yeah, that's really more me turned up to 15. I mean, you look at it even back when I was, in college, when I was first getting on social media, I would do these things. Like I would write stuff on Facebook called Rants by the Chosen One, and I would just like go off about stupid stuff. And then I had a pet fish, and I used to like write stories from the fish's point of view. Just being, I was just, but I just got bored, and so now I'm at a point where I can, kind of I have more time, more free time. So I just go and I observe stuff and I say what I think, and people think it's funny. So, but when I'm out like in an interview, I get a chance to really just, show, like I love having fun. This stuff is fun for me, the romper, things like that. I see stuff all the time. I'm like, I could pull that off, and I tried it, and it was funny, and people liked it. So I just kept like, I'm not being really fake. So it's like an amplified character. Each of my social medias amplifies a different aspect of my character. So I focus more and more on each one depending on which platform I'm on. Like my Instagram is pretty funny. It's just like me talking about like poop and looking at booty, and
Right. Goofy
on
shit.
my Twitter, I just talk about everything. Twitter's like no man's land for me. I just go in there, do whatever I want. And if it's too bad, my manager will be like, "You need to delete that," so I'll delete it. I just I was messing around. And then Facebook is only shit posting now. I only go on there to like fuck around with like different TV shows and talk shit about politicians. That's all I do Facebook for.
That's a fun thing to do, though.
Yeah. It's just funny to me. I don't care about it at all, so I just post on there. I'm like, oh, look at this dumbass said today.
Yeah. If you're looking for dumb, like people to make fun of, politicians is like they are the cream of the crop to make fun of for sure.
Yeah, it's just super low hanging fruits. Easy.
It's super easy. Congress is a circus. It's hilarious. Uh, where if you don't get Greg Hardy, which where is he even ranked? Do you know?
Probably they'll probably give him a top 15 ranking.
Jesus, where are you?
I'm probably not ranked. I mean, I don't really care about rankings. The way I see it, I've been doing MMA. My amateur debut was September 10th of 2016. It hasn't even been 3 years since my amateur debut, and I'm in the UFC right now. So
True.
I'm just I'm just trying to get experience, man. Fight whoever. I'm cool fighting not ranked guys. I'm cool not being ranked because I get the pay. Like the way it is right now, I get paid the same if I fight, unranked guy or if I'm fighting for a title. Like I'm getting paid the exact same right now.
Wow.
Fighting, a top 10, top 15 guy, putting myself at more risk doesn't make sense for like 14 and 14, 12 and 12 or something like that.
What?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, I'll fight a bum. Easy payday, get out of there.
Right.
Which is why I want to fight Greg Hardy because he sucks.
I love how you tied it in there. You're a genius. Dude, 14-14? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that they have a pay scale, but
Yeah.
and you're sort of like a newer guy in the division, but I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Because when you see a boxing card and you see an MMA card and then you see the payouts of everybody, like a lower card boxing guy gets paid, I don't know, 50 grand, 40, 50, 60. And then you guys get paid peanuts compared to that. And what do you attribute that to? What do you think that happens?
Well, it's all in the promotion. It's a little different in boxing. The promoters really push for it, and the tickets sell for a lot more. MMA also, there's not really in boxing, the managers are more incentivized to get those fighters paid more so they can make more money. And MMA though, or especially in the UFC, there's so few management companies that get recognized that it's almost like you have to get in there and prove you're worth it before you're going to make any money with it. And we're not unionized. You look at the NBA and NFL. Those guys get 50% of TV deal or of revenue, and we don't get that. But another thing too is we haven't been around as long. As a sport, UFC's been around 25 years. We're just
Yes.
getting to a point where you have legitimate athletes in here learning how to fight, whereas before it was just guys that learned how to fight because they had to fight. Whereas now
Right.
we're reaching a phase where you're getting guys that could be successful in a number of other sports that are choosing MMA, and so we're seeing the level rise. And as our levels continue to rise, the money's going to continue to rise, and eventually, when we've been around, maybe another 15, 20 years, it'll get to a point where we can be doing collective bargaining agreements and everyone banding together and things like that. But it's just a completely different mindset.
Do you think a fighters union would make sense, like a Project Spearhead kind of thing? That I know they're making some noise on social media. I think Leslie Smith is in there, and I forgot who else is in there. But Leslie Smith seems to be the lady that's out there talking about this project, about Project Spearhead. What do you think of that? If you've heard of it, or the idea of being a union?
I've heard a little bit about it. I haven't done a whole lot of research into Project Spearhead. They haven't contacted me or anything. But, the problem with a union, so to speak, is that we're all contractors at the end of the day, right? And different management companies have, different ideals, different values or whatever. So it doesn't serve their interests to have the fighters unionized, right? It serves our interests. Yeah, I would love to have, regular health care. Well, the way it's set up now is, you get in a fight and they cover any injury you have in the fight. And that's the insurance we have, which is fine. The solution, get good, don't get hurt. Fine. I get that. But, a union would benefit the lower end fighters. I don't think it benefits the higher end guys, the top up guys. Ultimately it could benefit everyone in order to get more money spread out over everybody. But at the end of the day, that's taking the money that we would be getting will be taking money from someone else, and whoever that money's coming from, whoever's losing money on that, is going to find it very hard. And the more powerful that person is, the less likely it is to get done, So I love it. I love the way it's set up now. Obviously I have complaints. Everybody would like to get paid more, but the way I see it, man, as long as I can provide for myself and my family or those that I care about, I'm good. And I'm making more money now than I was fighting on the local scene, right?
Right.
Yeah, so you gotta take it all into perspective. Now, guys that have been doing it, 10, 15 years, they're gonna look at it differently. For me,
Right.
I'm like, it's still new to me. It's fun. I don't at this point. Yeah, a title would be great, but that's not what I'm thinking about right now. You got to look at the champ in my division's what 41, about to be 41.
Yes.
The guy before that, Steve Pay's like what 37,
He's
38.
pushing 42
Yeah,
or
so
like 39, 38.
yeah, so it's like I got years to get there. So for right now, I'm focused on just being as good as I can, getting paid what I can. Yeah, obviously for me right now, it's all about the best development for me as a fighter, as a person, and then to be compensated well for that. But in terms of demanding health insurance, this, that, and the other, yeah, that would be great. But in order to do that, like all the fighters would have to be in on it. And the problem is, whatever you're not willing to do, there's always somebody that is willing to do that. There's
Right.
so many guys out there right now that if all the guys on the roster were to stop fighting, be like, we're not going to fight till we get paid, you're going to go find some Joe Schmo at a local, on the local scene or a high-ranked prospect. Most they've ever fought for is maybe 3-3. You give them the intro rate to the UFC, they're going to jump at that. They're like, hell yeah, I'll fight for that. So, and another thing too with us is like we determine how often we fight. We can now sometimes like they won't give you a fight. That sucks. That does suck. When they only fight every 4 or 5 months. Yeah, it's hard to make a living that way. But if you're like Cowboy Cerrone, he fights what 7, 8 times a year. Like,
Every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, apparently.
It's a double-edged sword, and there's a lot of factors that you have to take into it, and ultimately, if you're willing to work, and now if you're trying to fight and they're not letting you, yeah, that I could see there being a union for that. But for me, my issue isn't pay. It's like, all right, well, whatever you're gonna pay me, you have to allow me to fight a certain number of times so I can make the amount of money that I want to make.
Right. How many times this year are you looking to fight?
Well, I wanted to fight 3 times this year, but I don't see that happening now. I'll probably get another fight around September or October, and then, if I knock the guy out in the first round, then maybe I could squeeze one more in. But yeah, I would like to fight 3 times total this year, so 2 more times. But realistically, I might get 1 more.
Yeah, maybe they schedule Greg against someone else, and then that guy gets injured.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then they're calling on the Kraken. Where did the Kraken come from?
The rum. I drink Kraken rum a lot.
Right.
So I was drinking that one day, and my buddy was like, "Man, you really like that rum?" Like, yeah. He goes, "Dude, I got it. That should be your nickname because in folklore, the Kraken's this big, unbeatable beast, just huge, and that's what it's like rolling when you just this large force can't stop you, even though we know what you're gonna do. You can't stop it, and there's arms and legs coming from all different weird angles,
Like a Kraken.
So, yeah, and then I drink the rum too, so it just
It's a perfect match.
yep.
So your name is Juan. So where are your parents from? Where did Juan come from?
My mom's half Mexican, half black. My dad was, to my knowledge, completely black. I don't know who went
Right.
on to the family, but so my grandpa was from Mexico, I believe. But he was all over the place. He hopped all over South America. But we do have some families centered in Monterrey, but I haven't spoken to them in 15 years, so I don't know any of them.
Have you visited at all, or just been to hang out?
Nope. I'm pretty content with America. I like it over here.
Right.
I went to Jamaica once, and then other than that, I've crossed over the Rio Grande a couple times just to say I did. Go touch the canyon, come back out, touch the wall of a rock, come back out. But that was it. I don't leave much.
Right. What other sports besides? Do you watch it? A lot of combat sports besides your own stuff when you're training and looking at tape.
I don't really watch a whole lot of jiu-jitsu or anything like that. I watch wrestling because that's the first sport I did, and I do watch a lot of MMA, but pretty much anything competitive, I'll leave on the TV. Caught myself watching like bowling the other day, and
A PBA.
yeah, I just like competition, so I watch that.
Right. Were you surprised by the Jordan Burroughs Ben Askren's result?
Not at all.
Not at all.
I love like Ben Askren is a real pioneer in the sport, and he's done a lot for wrestling and MMA. I feel like he did that more to raise awareness for wrestling. He is a lot older than Jordan, and he's not in his physical prime anymore. And Jordan, that's all he does is wrestle all the time. That's all he does. Ben's, he's got the Twitter thing. He's got shows. And his training now isn't even wrestling, just wrestling. It's right. So I didn't expect him to lose the way he did, but I didn't expect him to win that at all.
Right. Being a guy that comes from wrestling, do you remember when they said that wrestling was gonna get taken off the Olympics for 2020?
Yeah, that was kind of what soured me towards competing and training. And I was, for the amount of work that I would have had to put in to even be considered for the Olympic team, and then there's no guarantee that it's still going to be around. It kind of just, I don't know, it changed me a lot. My 5th year when I went back to college, I was expecting to want to do it a lot more. And I found by the time conference tournament rolled around, I was just like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I don't want to be in college anymore. I dropped a class just to come back this year, and the one class I need to pass is, I don't even feel motivated to do that. So,
Oh no.
Yeah, that was rough for me, but the Olympics, it's cool because they have to raise awareness. They need viewers for that, right? So in their self-interest, if wrestling isn't bringing in viewers, they did need to scrap it. But, them making that threat raised a lot of awareness for the sport, and it made the sport adapt and try to make the sport more viewer-friendly. And it's made wrestling a lot more action-packed now. Wrestling is a lot more fun to watch. And now you watch the national tournament, you see heavyweights, dropping into a splits to save to save themselves a point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would never do that shit. I can't do a splits. And so I do love wrestling. I always have an affection for it, but I'm not obsessed with it to the level that you have to be to be on that level for it. I mean, I like it. I love working hard. I love working out. I will always love wrestling, but I see no desire. I have no desire to compete in wrestling anymore.
Right. The first time I heard that they were taking it off the Olympics, the rumor was, or the justification behind it, was the fact that there was a lot of corruption in wrestling, in the wrestling world. Do you remember this coming out, or is this something that you've heard before?
I've heard of every sport has it. Every sport does have it. I've heard of a little bit of favoritism and biased officiating and things like that. But my philosophy on competing has always been just don't leave it in their decision. You should be so good to the point. Now, granted, it does suck when you have poor judging.
Yeah.
For me, I've always been kind of just like, all right, well, I'm just going to overcome whatever they throw my way. So that's just how I've always looked at it. But I do remember when all that stuff came out, there were a lot of changes in the wrestling community and in the wrestling world. And it's been changes for the better. The sport's a lot more fun to watch now.
Yes. It is. It is. Most people no, and specifically that matchup between Jordan and Ben brought a lot of people that didn't really care about wrestling, but they really liked Ben, or they know who Jordan is, and it brought a lot of people. About PEDs. Now that I saw that you retweeted, you retweeted a tweet from UFC December that said that you were the TJ Dillashaw of the heavyweight division.
Yeah. Not it. Well,
That aged very poorly. How you were in it? You're in the business. You're a heavyweight in the business. Uh, how do you think guys think they get away with it, or they can get away with it? And what do you think is their mindset when they risk it to cheat a little bit just to not get caught?
I don't even know if it's a thing about like getting caught or not. The thing is, in a lot of these divisions, it's so congested, right? It's so hard to get to the UFC. So a lot of guys start doing this stuff when they're still on the regional scene or whatever, just to get to the UFC to make that living. And once you're in, there's a little bit more leeway. It's a little harder to get cut, but even within that, a lot of these guys are like, this is their livelihood. This is their only chance. This is all they know how to do. Being in the UFC is their life, And so if they can't guarantee they're going to win, they're looking for any type of advantage they can to get a win so they can secure their place and stay in the company. And the way the punishments are dealt out, it's almost worth it to some of these guys to do it because, okay, yeah, you do it, you claim it's a tainted substance or tainted supplement.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a 4-month suspension? That's by the time you would take off from a fight anyway. They might reverse the decision or whatever, but you've already won. Like, you got the money already,
Right.
So that's, for a lot of guys, it's worth that risk to them. The worst case scenario they're going to get is a slap on the wrist and whatever, or then you get a 2-year suspension. Well, if you're already making, $200-300 grand a fight and you win a few fights, then you get popped for something the first time, okay, 4 months, whatever. You do it again, test clean, then you pop again. Oh, this time it's a 2-year suspension. You've already made like the money you can afford to take that time off. That's basically a vacation at that point, So that's I don't do it just because I don't like stuff fucking with my hormones and things.
True.
My penis to not work.
It's very dangerous.
Very attached to that thing. So
what I see what you mean, and it's super easy to just, whenever the tests come back positive, to be like, hey, I don't know what happened, man. I didn't do anything. Taint the supplement. 4 months. So do you think most people do it on purpose? There's no
I don't
such
think
thing.
A whole lot of accidental steroid use. I mean, if you can prove it was a supplement, whatever. For me, that like I don't even take protein unless my coach forces me to take it because, I just don't want to risk it. And
Wow, really?
Yeah, well, I see it, man. People do all this shit to get to my level athletically. I'm already there. I don't need it.
True.
Me, I'll beat your ass if you're on steroids. I don't care.
I love it.
But for me, it's just a sign of weakness, and it's kind of like a cop out. You're admitting that you're not good enough to do it the right way. So, I mean, I've never done it. Once I got in the UFC, I even stopped taking most proteins. And if I do take it now, I take a picture of it and I send it to USADA, and for analysis to see if there's anything banned in it or not. And that way, like, there's a record. They know what I put into my body. So if something goes wrong, they can test that. Um, you know, I think, but right now, pretty much the only thing I take is a multivitamin. That's about it. Yeah.
Wow, really? So how do you do? Do you have a contact person that you send this to, or is this in like a database and then they get back to you? Like,
Yeah, there's a whole database, and I mean, and the problem is that it's so easy to just double check and make sure you're doing the right thing. That I find it very hard to say I accidentally did this. Um, but there's an app that everyone in the UFC has to have on your phone. It's the USADA app, and you know they have all the resources there. You just click on it in the app, or you email them, and they get back to you. It's never been more than 2 days for them to get back to you or anything. Most of the time it's within a couple hours.
wow. So it's a super straightforward process. Whatever you're gonna take, you just wow. Jeez, man, that seems like a lot of work to to just
Yeah.
stay out of the way of like controversy and stupid decisions. But it's what you got to do. How many times have you been tested before your fight and after your fight?
Oh man. I don't even know. I think I've been tested 9 times total now since I signed.
Oh,
Yeah. Like so just from January alone, I got tested I think January 10th or January 15th, then February 10th, then March 15th, then April 1st, then April 14th.
wow. So
Yeah.
it's quite a bit.
Yeah, and they say it's random, but last time, it was like I just got tested 2 weeks ago, and they go, yeah, but we usually test you in the morning, so they wanted us to test you in the evening this time, and I'm like, bro, I don't even use steroids, and I know that's not how the shit works. It's not like I'm gonna morning and then pop dirty, and then
In the
after
evening.
I'm like, I don't know very many steroids with a half life of 10 hours. Like, that's just
Jeez.
chemistry at this point, man. And they're like, well, like, no, whatever, you guys get a lead, you got to follow it. My name comes up, you touch it, whatever it is. I'm just saying, it's pretty dumb.
Yeah. Looking for picograms in your system, brother.
Those picograms.
I think that's the most ridiculous like argument that I've heard ever. Like that whole John Jones situation was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, but I mean, scientifically, if you use that heavily for that long of a time, I'm pretty sure it'll always be in your system. Like that stuff doesn't just go away. And there's been studies on the trace amounts that are in there. Yeah, they are always going to be there. So
Right. Right. And science does get better. I think that was the argument. Like the testing has gotten better with time, so maybe they can see stuff that's still in your system that they couldn't see 2 or 3 years ago or however long. Yeah. It's just PDs in fighting are a sensitive subject because it's not basketball or baseball where it's just hitting a ball or dribbling a basketball. Like people's lives are in danger.
yeah,
And I don't know. It's a funky thing, man.
yeah,
It's a scary thing because it's like putting like plaster in your hand wraps or something. It's pretty same thing.
exactly. But I don't know. I'm under the impression like I'll beat anybody, so I don't care. Give them all the shit, whatever. You let them take steroids and eliminate the weight limit, and we'll see who can come in the bigger freak.
Wow, I think we're onto something here. I think we can. We can make Dana for a one night only super freak weight tournament. Who'd you put in there? Who would you put in there? I'd put Alistair for sure in there.
Yeah. Not Alistair like 3 to 4 years ago, not current Alistair.
No, yeah, Ubering. Ubering from K1.
Yeah, put Uber in there. I throw the mountain in there just to see that shit. I want to see crush somebody's skull. That shit would be dope. Get some strongmen in there. That shit would be fun. I think it would be funny.
Yeah, do you remember that strongman that won like 10 years ago? He kept winning all of them. Mariusz Pudzianowski. He does MMA now in Russia. Yeah, he's humongous.
Yeah, that's a freak.
Super freak. But he's like 5'10". He looks ridiculous with all that muscle. He can barely walk.
Oh yeah, I fuck him up then.
Yeah.
And
just for
yeah, I'll fight him.
yeah, and just to make it fun, we throw Greg Hardy in there.
Oh yeah, 2-on-1. I'm not.
Yeah, no, that's the whole tournament. Uberim, the Mountain, Greg Hardy, and Pudzianowski and you. 5-man tournament, and then we have Greg Hardy and Pudzianowski against you for the first fight.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, it's been awesome. Is there anything you want to plug?
My sponsors, Rhino Pro Truck Bed Liners. Built Rhino tough. Only thing tougher than me, Then we've got FlemingAttorneys.com. They're Houston's premier personal injury attorneys. Warfighter Hemp. The Hemp Lab, Houston, Texas. That's where get all your CBD needs filled over there. They got the bath bombs now. Shit's pretty dope. And
CBD bath bombs.
yeah, I'm too big for baths, but that shit. Love it.
Dude, you gotta get one, a big enough bath. I'm sure they make them.
They make them. I'm just, particular about that. If I'm gonna take a bath, I might as well just make it a spa day. Go to the spa, get pampered a little bit.
Do your nails.
I'm getting pedicures before every fight now, just so they can't say shit about them.
I would pay whatever just to see you try to trim your nails with that little nail clipper with your big toes.
There, dude. I was about to break something. I almost broke the nail clipper trying to clip it on my toenails. My toenails are thick as hell on top of it. So I'm just struggling back there, and they barely fit in my hands. I was pissed.
That would have been a super funny image, dude. Any more sponsors?
No, that's all.
Cool. Whenever you get your fight announcement, let us know so we can plug it.
For sure, man. Thank you.
Cool. We're looking forward to having you here again, and hopefully you punch a hole through Greg Hardy's face.
That's the plan, man.
All right, man. Thanks for doing this, man. You're awesome. Thank you.
All right, have a good one, later.
Hey, take care, brother.
¡Woo! Grita si me escucha. ¡Woo! Grita si me escucha.
There you had it. That was the Kraken, Juan Adams, our latest guest here at the Angels Combat World. Thank you guys for tuning in, downloading, and watching this on Facebook or YouTube. Please share it on Facebook, retweet it on Twitter. Also, leave a review on the podcast app on the Apple software. Who says software anymore? Just old people. Anyways, get this podcast Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, and any of the major audio platforms carry this podcast. You can catch it on YouTube and you can catch it on Facebook. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the reviews. Thank you for sharing. Thanks for everything. We will try to pump out a little bit more content, a little more frequent, just to stay on top of everything. But I've been busy. I've been making videos about Puerto Rican boxing and all that. Hopefully you caught that on the social media. If not, you can go right now on Facebook and you go to the official page of Angels Combat World, and the pinned video is the two videos that are pinned are what pretty much took most of my time this past week. It got a lot of views, it got a lot of attention, so I'm looking to make a bunch more of those, but I'll stay also very disciplined on the podcast too. Thank you to our friend Calm Justice for the awesome track that he provided us. So without messing with you guys anymore, thank you guys once again for for following me and for retweeting and sharing and all that good stuff. Until we meet again, this was Angel for Angel's Combat World.
Chucky, ¿dónde tú estás? El capitán Coachella, lo quiero. Se lo dije, mi gente, ya mismo lo hacemos millo y ustedes se van conmigo. El capitán Coachella.
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun.